Minister, organised crime is a fact in Ireland, and it involves conspiracy generally to commit serious crime. And mostly it operates on a level of intimidation and enforcement. It preys on the weak, but it also preys on the strong. And we also have disorganised crime in this country, and we see that more so maybe outside of the major urban centres in terms of antisocial behaviour, theft, money laundering, general types of stealing and what have you. But in terms of the organised crime in this country, I think it's fair to say it's most prominently seen around the drugs trade. And Ireland has moved on very much in terms of other countries in Europe, and we have a very burgeoning, quite a burgeoning hard and soft drugs trade in this country. And in actual fact, I think most people around who are involved in social services and some in community will tell you, if you go around all of our cities, that cocaine is now rife, and it's also rife in usage amongst our middle class. And the reason it is there, why people take drugs, I don't have the answers to all of that, but one thing I do know, that the drugs trade is all about money, and money is all about coercion. And the addictive nature of drugs, Minister, is a significant problem. And in terms of the future discussions around the Citizens' Assembly on drugs, and I think that's very welcome, but I think we need to be very, very mindful that the drugs that people speak about nowadays, particularly marijuana, are not the drugs that people might have smoked 20 or 30 years ago. They're a far different product. They have been genetically modified to be far more addictive. And if you speak to a lot of people who are in psychological services, they will tell you of significant damage that they are seeing, particularly in adolescents who are smoking marijuana. So I'm not going to prejudge the outcome of Citizens' Assembly, but all I'd say is we do need to have people who have wide and I'd say very specialist experience in terms of understanding what drugs are and what they're not. In terms of the role of the Gardaí, Minister, they are the backstop to everything we do in terms of the justice system in this country before people arrive to the courts. And I think we have significant, I don't think it, I know it because I speak to guards, we have significant resourcing issues in terms of the Gardaí in this country, Minister. And in my own area of Waterford, I have brought up a number of times that we have a divisional headquarters down there in a building that's completely now unfit for purpose, as people crammed into offices down there where there's 4 and 5 of them in a small space. They can't even bring their bags in there with them or hang their coats. We have a monitoring unit down there that serves all of the southeast plus another 6 counties. And Minister, it's like looking at a pilot getting into a seat. That's how little space is in there. I mean, what does that say to people who are going in to do important jobs in the morning, that this is your workspace for the next 7 or 8 hours? So, Minister, I've said this to you, I think, before, and you've said to me, oh, it is a matter for the Commissioner and all the rest. We need investment in that divisional headquarters. Beyond that also, Minister, the rural policing is a significant issue. And again, it's about the lack of numbers. But I would know of a number of rural areas in my own constituency where, in fairness, in some areas they have tried to get community monitoring going. And Minister, you were in Waterford recently and you met a community monitoring grouping in Dunhill County, Waterford. And you've seen the work that they've done. But the fact of the matter is they're short €1,200 to manage their monitoring service every year, and that's because of the cost of using group texting. And they're having to run around and try and raise that money. And I know they made a number of outreaches to council and others. Minister, we need some sort of statute to perform these things. These are absolutely vital to people in the country. I'm on that list myself, and I could get a text here at any time, day or night, telling me about car regs and people moving suspiciously and all that, and that's a great comfort to people in the country. But the other thing too, Minister, which you're aware of, is the targeting of outbuildings and farm buildings using drone technology. And again, this is where people are going over, flying drones over sheds and farms, looking for ATCs, looking for tractors, looking for anything that can be taken. And we need to find a way, Minister. Technology is moving on, and crime will always utilise technology way before the state uses, unfortunately. And we need to get something around that. I speak also, Minister, just in terms of the court service, and they have a very difficult job to do, and always the burden of proof has to fall in terms of the courts, that they have to consider people innocent before they're guilty. But, Minister, we do have a courts carousel going on in this country, and you can see it if you read the crime sections of the regional newspapers. Any week, people coming in with multiple amount of charges, previous charges, coming up, and they're up before the courts, and they get, generally speaking, a non-custodial suspended sentence, and they're back out again. And the guards know they're going to be looking at them in a matter of months. And I think that is really difficult for a guard to go through the process of trying to bring these people before the courts and then seeing them out the other side. Now, I know there's a separation here between the courts and the Oireachtas in terms of powers, but Minister, we have to do something about either prison services or rehabilitation services, or even some of the community outreach services that others have spoken about here, because we have some people who can be remediated. We have some people who are on the wrong track and they can be got on the right track. We have other people that can't. And to be quite frank with you, Minister, for some of those that are hardened criminals, they need to go away for quite a while. I spoke to a prison governor in this country who was a prisoner governor here for a number of years, and his estimation to me was, he said, with hardened criminals, he said less than 5 years they don't rehabilitate. After 5 years maybe they do, less than 5 years they don't, he said. So I think we do need to be looking at sentencing, and we need to look for constructive sentencing amongst the courts, Minister. So look, I'll pass over to my colleague Minister. What I would say is that most of all we need resourcing of our policing. That's really where we can intermediate organised crime, and we need an uptick in cyber security also, Minister, because that's where criminals are going now online to do all of their business.